Guys, when we're thinking about a southern coast invasion of Iran, we don't need to go in and take every grain of sand and every beach and every town. All you need to do is to take some really key spots and to strike from there other key spots, and that's it. The whole network of the transportation of oil, refining oil, shipping, all of that's gone. It's done for. This is the threat that at the moment, this picture posted by CENTCOM is the threat that's given to the Islamic Republic. They have to now weigh, is the United States bluffing, or are they really sending the ship to start a ground invasion and take Kharg Island, Bandar Abbas, all the different ports, and cut our financial lifeline once and for all? Keep in mind that most of the radar sites in the southern coast of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz are destroyed. The United States Navy can almost act with impunity and do whatever they want in that area. This was the only last missing piece of the puzzle that they needed. This would be a huge move for the operation to come. I personally don't think that it's just a threat, personally. To move this ship away from where it was already stationed, keep in mind, this was in Singapore, okay? It was closer to China. It was guarding one of the most important straits in the world, the Strait of Malacca. We also have the Strait of Hormuz or the Strait of Malacca. So the Strait of Malacca, if you choke that off, you close it off, China's finished. You close off the Strait of Hormuz, most of the countries around the world are finished. So for them to move it out of the Chinese Pacific theater and put it here is more than a threat, in my opinion. This is something that they're like, we're going to do something. And they did announce their arrival. So they should be arriving in about, I would say, a week from now. It took them a week for them to get to this point. So yeah, we're at this blue marker here, and they used to be right around here. So took them a week to get from there to here, maybe another week for them to get from there to there. They only have to get in this general area, which is where the USS Abraham Lincoln is, and that's it. You're good to go. And that's probably why the radar sites on the southern coast of Iran have been struck so heavily, in particular. So the Islamic Republic are blind, they're deaf, and now they're about to have hundreds of Marines storm their beaches in the middle of the night with air cover and aerials, information, everything. Yeah, again, I'm not saying that's about to happen right now. I'm just saying that that is definitely on the card now for the near future, whether it's a few months from now, a year from now, but the USS Boxer is coming. They are coming.
Yeah, and also whatever happens, that means that the United States is going to have the upper hand, even if they're just negotiating, because this is with the understanding that we could fuck you up now big time because of this being here. So the Islamic Republic is now weaker because USS Boxer is over there. Because it will always now with the understanding that we could take over Bandar Abbas and get complete control over the Strait of Hormuz anytime we want, with the USS Boxer being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
So
again, there's only a few key spots they need to take. In my opinion, the first spot they will take is this, Bandar Jasq, which is one of the ports that they export oil ships from. They'll take that first. They'll definitely probably take Chabahar as well. So this one is important. That's important. Bandar Jasq, Bandar Abbas, Qeshm Island, Sirik. And they probably will just stop there, in my opinion. They don't even need to go to Kharg Island because it's all the way up here. That is way in there. I don't think we need to go all the way over there. But yeah, this is huge. Remember, guys, we've been talking about this for months. We're like, the USS Boxer, that is a key indicator of things kicking off. And it's finally on its way. So that's a huge piece of news,
but
and that's why I wanted you guys to be happy.
here's the thing though, this will mean that, I mean, it's hard to believe that they would do that without using it, because just leaving that the China side empty like that is a huge risk, right?
Exactly. You're
And
taking this away from
so
deterring China invading Taiwan.
yeah, so that means like it's hard to believe that they're doing this without actually wanting to actually use it or something.
Correct. And these were the same thoughts that we had before February 28th. Before February
Right.
28th, oh, they're sending the Gerald Ford, they're sending the USS Abraham Lincoln. That's just for show. That's just to get leverage for the deal to force the Islamic Republic to do something, and then boom.
Um, so look at this. This is the so for people to understand this the difference. This is the USS Abraham Lincoln. We're gonna use like really simple to understand. This is just a airport on water. Okay. This is the USS aircraft carrier strike groups are just military airports. Basically, that's what they are. Right. These are not amphibious groups like the USS Boxer. This is the USS Boxer. This is what the USS. This is it. It does have aircraft on top of it that they could. It is a small airport, but the USS Boxer is a small airport. This top part is not what makes the difference. Is this part down here that makes all the difference? Okay, so the USS Abraham Lincoln makes you be able to have fighter jets close to wherever you want to bomb, as if you have an airport there, because you do have an airport there. But you're not going to be able to go take land and islands and send Marines into taking land, right? But the USS Boxer, which is a smaller airport here at the top, the feature is this thing down here, which it gives it its amphibious ability, meaning that from here down here, stuff like hovercrafts and other amphibious stuff can come out of there and basically move the soldiers and armored vehicle and other military equipment to any land anywhere without needing a port or anything on any land. So that means that these are the abilities that United States has that no other country has, right? Not needing a port to basically land soldiers on any shore anywhere you want happens because of having the USS Boxer and USS Tripoli. So this thing down here, the hovercraft and other stuff comes out of here, and just all of a sudden you have thousands of soldiers on your beach, right? So
Yeah.
USS Abraham Lincoln cannot do that because it doesn't have that amphibious ability. It's just a bigger airport. Does
Yep.
that make sense, guys? Let me know in
Exactly.
the chat if that makes sense. Yeah.
As it's a big boat, and in it are little boats, and those little boats have soldiers.
Yes. And all of a sudden
This
you have like thousands of soldiers on your shore coming out of nowhere, taking over
guys,
your land.
again, Marines are the most elite fighting force in history as a part of like a broad military force. Like they're a branch of the armed forces. I'm not talking about like special forces or like elite groups of soldiers. I'm talking about the entirety of the Marines. This is the most elite fighting force in the history of humanity. Yeah. Yeah, 2,000 of them. That's not a small amount. It's not a small amount at all. Again, they're not going to take somewhere and then just sit there and hold it. They're going to hit and move, disrupt all the supply lines, cut the financial lifelines of the Islamic Republic. And that is the threat that the Islamic Republic now has to face and think about for the next week. Are we going to negotiate? Are we going to give in to the demands? If we don't, what if we don't give up uranium? Oh, well, the US is going to put boots on the ground in some capacity, and then we're screwed. The panic that would cause. And that's not the only US
Nope.
troops that are going to be involved in the Middle East. We have actually more troops. So going back to what we were talking about yesterday, we saw that our CENTCOM commander, Brad Cooper, went to Beirut in Lebanon and met with the Lebanese president, Ayoun, right there. This image that's about to come up right now, so Brad Cooper and Ayoun talking in the one room, is not a good sign for Hezbollah. They're going to feel like they have to act now. And especially when there are Israeli officials and US officials talking about how ground forces of the United States may be deployed in Lebanon in the near future. We're talking about in the coming weeks. The USS Boxer arrives in a week. US troops may deploy in Lebanon within a week. Iraq is kicking up. This is how the MOU is playing out. These are just the facts. I mean, it's not even my opinion. This is just what's happening.
Guys, it is working. I know, like, Inserver is in the chat and he's going to be like, oh, 5D chess move again. But I know this is unpopular, especially, like, guys, I tell you when my views does not represent the views of Iranians, you know? But the MOU is working. The negotiations of the Americans needed a pause, and they're taking the best advantage of this pause possible. I'm not saying everything is going to work out perfectly, but while they put everything on pause, they are defanging the Islamic Republic left and right in Iraq, in Lebanon, inside Iran. The division inside Iran, the inside man Ghalibaf forcing Ghalibaf to move against the Islamic Republic. All the politicians in Iraq that are proxies of the Islamic Republic being arrested, all of their millions of dollars being recovered, the Haish al-Shabi being bombed into pieces in Iraq, the peace deal between Lebanon and Israel, with Americans signing it and committing to pushing out Hezbollah. Like, everything is working. We're moving in the right direction. I'm not saying that it will always keep working this way, but while the Americans are waiting for their midterm election to be over with, and also while they're recovering from being low in munitions, while that is happening, they are not holding back. They're doing everything to keep defanging the Islamic Republic.
That's where we are. So, I think it'll become apparent really soon if this was all a mastermind play. Like, we might not, I'm starting to think we might not have to wait until the midterms. Trump does like to use the element of surprise and deception, and the midterms would be. I've always thought this. I'm like, okay, the midterms would be a really good time to actually strike because the Islamic Republic wouldn't expect it. Vice versa, it would also be a really good time for the Islamic Republic to close the Bab el-Mandeb and the Strait of Hormuz with force during the midterms to ensure that President Trump faces the most amount of backlash to potentially lose the elections. That time is, no matter what, the next few months are going to be very, very sensitive, no matter what happens. It's a very high tension time.
You know, one thing that could really derail all of this is that if Democrats really win big in the midterms, then even if we were waiting for things to go back to maximum pressure on the Islamic Republic, if that was the plan, then we might not get that because the Democrats will be able to find so many ways to tie President Trump's hands in different ways.
Yes, they can do that. And that would be the worst case scenario, not only for Iran, but it would be for most of the countries that are allied to the United States. It would be a pretty bad scenario. So yeah. I kind of wonder what people think. What are people thinking in the chat? Now that
guys,
the logistics, we showed you a couple days ago, we showed you the airlift that's been happening for the past 10 days. It's just a Congo line of air tankers coming in from the US to Europe to the Middle East. And that's one of the biggest airlifts ever by the United States, which has happened in just the last month alone. I'm really curious to see what exactly they're moving in there. There's also been 2 planes that took off of US bases in the United States. They were very specific planes. These planes are the only planes that the United States uses to transport nuclear weapons. And those have taken off during this week from the United States, and then they turned their transponder off at some point, and we don't know actually where they are at the moment. I think they flew out of Kansas. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.